right, everyone, what's up? Here is the new episode of Tech Beardos with my co-host here, Ian from Fuse, and myself from Voltage. Yeah, I know you will tell probably yourself another episode with those two Tech Beardos, right? Um,
And honestly, like, how many podcasts can there be in the world, Luca? Like, I feel like there's probably more podcasts than people right now. But we do think we've got some pretty cool content and insight that we want to bring to you. We work in this industry, so we're close to it every day. And we really want to kind of pique people's interest on DeFi and that big, bad database we call the blockchain.
yeah, exactly. The thing is with this podcast, the concept here is that every month we'll sit down, Ian and I, and respectively in our man caves, as you can see. And the goal here is to hop in a call and to explore topics surrounding the whole evolving industry, right? Diving into what's hot in the moment, but also where is DeFi heading, and for you basically to make the most out of what.
That's it, right? And we try to be very kind of educational and explain things in kind of layman's terms as well. A lot of the time, we understand that this is a new industry, and because we work in it, we hear this stuff all the time. So it kind of makes sense. But we're actually going to talk about that today. So just remember, we're literally living and breathing crypto and blockchain over here all day long. So the idea is that we'll sift through a lot of the noise and the really ridiculous stories that come out, and we'll give you a more of a curated idea of what's going on in DeFi and blockchain. But before we get into all the kind of techie stuff, how you doing, Luca? I've not spoke to you all week. How has your week been going, man?
Yeah, exactly. So thank you for the question, Ian. I'm doing fine, doing really good. Actually, right now is really, really busy for Voltage on the product and the marketing side. We have an amazing number of things we're going to push out in the next couple of months, especially April. April is going to be really packed. I think I've seen the community is really looking forward to it. So a lot of work on my plate, but really happy to finally push things because, yeah, sometimes, you have all those things that you're working on, but nobody can see it. And at some point, you can release them and the community can enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to it. What about you, Ian?
Oh, man. Same story, super busy, just kind of getting on with things, to be honest with you, and also helping with the voltage side of things and thinking about that more holistically. But yeah, just super busy, man. Like, as people who watch Fuse know, we're in the middle of a bit of a restructure and a rebrand, and we're just kind of cleaning up our site, making sure everything's fit for purpose. And then we're going to start going out there and shouting really loudly. So we're just kind of getting our voices prepared, I guess you could say. But other than that, yeah, man, normal life for me, chopping trees down, talking about blockchain stuff every day.
That sounds fun. That sounds really fun.
That's life, right? I'm melding this technological wizardry into the living in the middle of nowhere style. So, and I think you kind of doing a similar thing, right, Luca?
Yeah, that's the goal.
That's the one, right? So, guys, today, what we want to talk about, it's a topic that's big, but the title of it is, why does DeFi still suck in 2023? So we've come a long way. We've still got a long way to go. And what we're going to talk about today is I'm going to ask Luca what really annoys him the most about DeFi right now. And then he's going to do the same with me. And we both have our own individual ideas about what annoys us the most, but I'm really sure we're going to line up on a lot of stuff. The idea of this is not to, we're not poo-pooing on DeFi here. What we're trying to do is explain things simply and why people may get a little bit scared or be a little bit apprehensive. And we're going to try to explain these things. So, yeah, keep your ears open. You might hear some new terminology. And if you don't understand anything we go through, just give us a shout on Twitter, post video. And yeah, we're more than happy to answer all these questions. So let's jump in, shall we, Luca? I would like to know, sir, why does DeFi still suck in 2023? Hit
me. Before I answer this question, I think it's also a good thing that I give some background on myself as well. So because right now you see me as the basically head of marketing at Voltage, but this hasn't been always the case because it's DeFi. Voltage is focusing on DeFi as a DEX, has a Volt app, has lot of different DeFi products, DeFi specialized products. But it wasn't always the case that I was so, let's say, had so much knowledge on DeFi, right? First of all, I started like anyone else, just hearing about the high APIs, and willing to take advantage. Was like, yeah, this is a revolution. Quite understood what was behind the blockchain and wanted to try it out, basically, right? But I didn't really have any friend that was like going at it and could like drive me, right? So I
And you
had
did it on
to.
your own. You did all of those first stages you were learning.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. Yeah, I did, but I had to learn a lot. The learning curve was really high. So I gave up 2 or 3 times, right, before putting my funds into it. But then I was like, okay, it's like any other like tryout you do. You need to try it out first, and then you'll probably learn faster, right? So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, let's put a couple of bucks and let's see how it goes, right? Let's stick with the basic at first, with the swapping, with the stable coins, with
Yeah.
things like this, and then we'll go over the liquid staking, the pools, the all that seems really complicated to anyone entering DeFi. So what I wanted to say by this is that my approach to DeFi was with trial and error. Even I understand it's not good for everyone, because
No.
it's scary, right? It's scary. Let's say it, but I think it's a good way to learn, and that's something that really sucks with DeFi is the fact that it's better now than when I joined, which was
Yeah.
approximately two years ago. But it's still, let's say, it still seems scary, right? Because of the complicated terminology. When you hear about impermanent loss, or I don't know, liquidity pools or things like this, if you're used to having like a normal bank account or not even just using cash, it seems like another world, right? It seems like unattainable. So I think that will be the first thing I would say stuck with DeFi, is that the opportunities are there, but they're complicated to understand to new users, basically.
That's a really strong point, man. Like, it's right there in front of you, but you may not be able to even understand the basics of it. So it's not an opportunity. It's possibly a threat.
Exactly.
It turns into more of a threat, right? Because it can have the ability to really screw you over. Interesting. Okay, so jargon and wording and the kind of. Do you mean the more financial terminology, Luca, more than the kind of blockchain terminology?
Yeah, so those are closely related, but
Hmm.
let's say for now it's DeFi terms, DeFi focused terms, right? Not talking about hash or things like this, because this is another subject.
Yeah.
But if we stick to the UI of users, right? What they see, what the terminology they can see straight on the websites, on dexes or whatever, it just seems complicated, right? If you'd never used one before, even though you are interested in crypto and things like this, the chances that you first go through a centralized exchange are really high, right? Because at least there's some sense of things you already know. And this is something that the DeFi sector as a whole is trying to achieve more and more. I can see this as a trend now. DeFi understood that compared to centralized entities, they basically they can't make it, right. They can't
No.
onboard the next wave of users if they stay wizardy, like
Yeah.
complicated, or it almost seems like it's only available to small niche of users that stick to their computer the whole day, which is not
Well,
true.
it's a really like somebody said something to me a while ago. They're building a blockchain game, and they put the MetaMask was the login way to access the game, right?
Yeah,
So he basically said a sentence. He's like, "How many people are there on planet Earth?" It's like what I don't know the current figure, 8 billion or something like that. And
probably. Yeah.
it was like 1%, less than 1% of the total world population has MetaMask installed. So you are building a product that is only fit to be used by 0. Whatever, lower than that of the population. And he was building it. And when he said it, I was like, good point, man. Like, seriously, onboarding discussion, like, that seems very foolish. But just to add to your point there, like, it does make it more scary for people. Definitely. Like, it's not easy at all. So, yeah.
Well, what I can see, what I can see from now to just to go back to what I was saying is that DeFi protocols now tend to put a lot of effort towards educating their users. So
Yeah.
when I mean educating, it's not just like explaining the terms, but also giving some step-by-step guides on how to swap, how to stake, what it is, what's the benefit for users, why they should do it, how is their solution better than any centralized entities, things like this. I think that has a lot of value, because as we can see, people are trending towards financial independence, if I can say it like this. This is a dream for anyone, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And also having ownership of your funds, which is still small but a growing trend. a growing trend, that's for sure. So I see
Yeah.
this effort as to educate people as the way for DeFi to be the go-to solution in the future.
Yeah, to kind of be people gravitated to centralized exchanges for the reasons that you said. Like they're easy to use, they're fairly easy to onboard into. And I think one of the most interesting things there is that familiarity, right? Like you said,
Exactly.
you're using an application that doesn't feel that dissimilar to your banking app, to another app that you're used to.
Yeah.
You're not being asked to reinvent the wheel as a user. And users have become more and more, well, we are users also. And I know that I'm pretty fickle, right? If I get into an app and I don't understand what's happening there, I'm pretty fast to offload it, if I'm honest. Like, because maybe I don't have time or XYZ. But yeah, I see centralized exchanges winning because they're kind of cashing in on people's laziness a little bit. And that's something that is looking to change, like you said, with people wanting to have ownership of their assets. But I also question, do people even know how centralized exchanges work? Do they know that they don't hold their assets? Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure certain people this year would have, or last year and this year, have probably found this out the hard way. But it's just a question, and it draws back to your point on education, is there needs to be more education around the differences between the two. And people should be free to choose as well, I think, Luka. Like, it's okay for us to preach decentralization. We like it. That's what we want to happen. But people need choices, right? Like, I still think there'll be a place for centralized exchanges. There's just a need in the world, maybe.
Definitely. And I wouldn't say it's laziness. I would say is fear, because it's our fault as decentralists that our products are not user friendly.
Yeah.
What the centralized exchange understood is not that the people are lazy, is that the people have fear, right? Is that their hard-earned money. They don't want just like to dump it in a, I don't know, if strange website with strange terminology, with things they don't understand, right? I mean, at their place, I would do the same. I also started with centralized exchange. It's only when I understood the ethos behind decentralization and also all the better opportunities there were in the jungle, because we can say it right now, it's still jungle, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that I transitioned. But what I would say is centralized exchange, they capitalized more on safety in a feeling safe,
yeah,
because
yeah.
you have a login, you have a password exactly like any
Yeah.
other thing you use on the internet, right? So I think they capitalize on this. But as you said, this is maybe something we can discuss later on. But some of them learned it the hard way, right? I had actually friends of mine learning it the hard way.
Same. We've got friends that were crying into their hands, but not funnily, ironically, these friends knew the dangers of centralized exchanges all too well and still chose to stay there. So it's quite interesting from a psychological perspective as to what people do. I think it's quite interesting. I've got assets on centralized and decentralized. Majority is on decentralized, but I still use centralized exchanges because they're quite easy.
Yeah,
And I like easy stuff, right?
for
So we
sure.
probably we're probably going to see more of a shift. And what we have seen actually is apps, decentralized apps becoming looking far more like their centralized counterparts and being able to offer similar services. Okay, so Luca really hates the jargon and the complicated terminology. I'm with you, man. I'm totally with you. One thing I'm going to say is perhaps it's a good thing there's a lot of complicated language there because it holds off a lot of people from aping in, as we call it, and losing their money. Now, it's a very difficult proposition thing to put out there because at the same time, these apps want users. They want usage as well, right? So it's
Yeah,
two-sided. They want people to be careful. But I also think as well, when I first came into this industry and started using decentralized finance and seeing these terms that you've said, like slippage and impairment loss, I was just like, what is this? And
yeah,
how in the hell was I ever expected to know about this when I came here? And then I'm instantly looking for like a tooltip or like a guide,
yeah.
and there isn't one. And I'm like, I can't use your service because you're not telling me what to do. So it's a bit chicken and egg, isn't it? Like the apps need to make sure that they're explaining things properly so that people use them. But at the same time, they also need to be clear about the risks in relation to the rewards as well. So pretty tricky marketing message, really, something that we know quite a lot about. But
I would say this is This is simple to explain. Basically, this has happened because those products were built by developers, and those developers
Yep.
have the vision, the product vision, very clear, but the message vision, user friendly vision, not so clear, right?
Not so
But
much.
the thing is, right, it's only, DeFi is only a couple years old.
Yeah.
I think the growth has been tremendous on this side of things, because as product grew, as funding grew as well for the whole industry, we could see people like you and me focusing on marketing, messaging, branding, things like this, enter the space to leverage the product
Yep.
that were built
Yeah.
and put it out to a wide range of users. So I'm pretty happy about how it goes, actually, because I can see from, even when I was applying for jobs, for DeFi jobs, right? I could see new propositions every day for marketing, for community, for messaging, branding, whatever. I could see every
Absolutely.
day new opportunities, which I think is really cool. As much as developers, meaning that's for me a perfect indicator saying that, hey, there are great products being built here. They only don't have any communications, right? They,
Yeah.
they only want to be put out there. So I think that the industry is going in the right direction. Still young, and
Yeah.
what you were talking about with the toolkit, sorry, is about to come. I think for a wider range of D apps, as you were calling them.
Yeah, that's what we need to see, man. Like, it's what people are you instantly look for that. A
Yep.
really good point you made there about the progress and the way in the direction in which we're going as well. I think, yeah. So I agree with you on most of your points there, and I think it's a case of education. And as we've said, a lot of the onus is on the person to do their homework. It's
Yep.
yeah, a lot, right? Do your own research, and it's true because before you would give your money to the bank and then you just kind of assume that they're doing the right things for you.
Yeah.
They tell you the right things, and people like us are like, that's not true, but people are still believing that, right? So slow transition away. I think I said it before, with lots of power comes lots of responsibility. From Spider-Man, right? Spider-Man needed to learn that lesson, so it's a similar one. The things that really kind of get me in DeFi is those things too, but I've come to understand what they mean over time, and I'm quite happy to help people understand. The things that really get my goat is, like, number one, bad press in the crypto space. So, and this is a thing that I work in, right? I work in sort of journalism to some extent. The crypto media don't seem to really want to do us any favors. Like, they're so happy to jump on the latest problem, exploit, hack, using wording that makes it sound like it's the end of the world. They really don't seem very keen to help us. Like, I get it, they're trying to get clicks. That's why they do it, right? They're trying to sell stories. But I think to the outside world, it's a scary world already, as you said. We're dealing with finance, we're dealing with new behaviors. But to then lump on top of that more bad feeling about the fact that it could all just go catastrophically wrong and that crypto is just dangerous, like, this really pisses me off, to be honest, Luka. Like, because for two reasons. One, it's scaring people and making them not even go near it and not even try and just believe what they hear. That really annoys me. And secondly, is because, from a more kind of personal reason, is that if we look at global crime and other things, Panama Papers, whatever, they're not finding crypto wallets in there. They're finding traditional bank accounts with banks, but yet everybody still trusts the bank. So that annoys me quite a lot, right? I think there's an education that's occurring, and I want more people to care about what they do with their money and how they use it, and to understand money. But the thing that also annoys me, so that annoys me that DeFi is getting bad press. Crypto is getting bad press. And I think the stories are just elaborated upon. And it's just, if you were only to read that, you would think there was no reason to get into crypto. So it's a little bit annoying. And this general fear of new things, especially when they're financially motivated. And I think that, like, what we've seen with centralized exchanges over the last sort of 12 months has given us our opportunity to talk about decentralization in a better way. But what annoys me is that centralized exchanges are still looking like the hot ticket because they're still really user friendly and they work really well. Whereas you said correctly, I feel DeFi is still developers building for developers. and people like you and me are coming in to help spread the message, but we've only just arrived.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
Two things about this. Two things about this. The first one is that it again we are on a tremendous growth action, I would say, into DeFi for this, because I think now DeFi builders understand this. I think this is not anymore a problem. People have it in their head. They understand that they need to create better UI, better UX. I think that's pretty clear to everyone.
Yeah.
Actually, one of the recent news we got was that, for example, you have from one side crypto going to user friendly, with Uniswap willing to launch their non-custodial mobile app,
Yeah.
and from the other side you have also what traditional finance willing to come into DeFi, with Robinhood, the really known trading app,
Yeah.
a user-friendly trading app, which opened the door to massive amounts of investment from retail users into finance, is coming through to DeFi as well. They're also building their non-custodial wallet, which is in a waitlist right now. So what I can see from now is that TradFi and DeFi completely understand that the way to go to onboard new users is UI UX, but also on the side you were talking about for bad press, I think it's so for sure they're doing it for clicks, but I see it as natural selection, because
Yeah.
it's like the people you were talking about that don't come to DeFi because they're repelled by those strange articles and bad wording
They
are
shouldn't.
going to come back. It's just that it's a cycle, basically. If I could even take myself as an example here, and say if I wasn't into crypto and I would see those articles, I would probably not come in a bear market. But what I see is the price pumping. Whatever the article that was published, I'm gonna try it out. You see what I mean?
I see what you're saying. And yeah, I mean, almost everything we've saying could be tinted with market conditions, right?
Yeah.
It's completely different now to how it was. A bull and a bear are two different things. When the bull market's going, everybody's talking, the Telegram chats are pumping, friends are chatting, we're all exchanging ideas. As soon as the markets dip, everybody goes into, like, I don't know, reconnaissance mode almost. They're just like, everyone's hiding out, just kind of waiting for time to come back. So I definitely see that as well. But yeah, it's a good point, man. But yeah, we're definitely moving in the right direction. But the things that the thing that really gets me, I mean, that's just one thing that gets me. The kind of UX UI is obviously important, but I think when we talk about DeFi, there's only so far you can simplify something so complicated as well, right? You can't strip it right, but there's still going to be some liquidity, for example.
Yeah.
People still need to understand what liquidity means. I mean, it's a very simple term. Like, I've got friends that say, I'm low on liquidity, you know, when they're feeling a bit poor. So we've been saying that for like a decade. So they use the word liquidity instead of money. So it was normal for me, but most people don't do that. Like, most people don't use that term. So, but the education is there. I don't think anybody can say it's not there. If you type it in on the internet, you're going to find everything pretty fast, right? There's thousands of articles there. But I think, okay, so we've bagged on DeFi, and we haven't even really bagged on it, because what we're saying is that we're sort of evolving and getting to a better place, but the people are a little bit scared because it's not quite as easy to use as their regular apps, basically.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where we're trying to get to with it. And I think what's going on right now, Luka, in the world as well, is kind of links into what we're discussing as well. DeFi seems to be getting its moment. Like, well, Bitcoin is having a moment right now as world markets plunge, and Bitcoin seems to have found its fit, right? Its desired purpose seems to be coming true. And you've got all these Bitcoin maximalists running around kind of saying, I was right, and it's all becoming very positive. But I think it's feeding into this whole situation, like with SVB. We've got this current banking situation that looks like two things could happen. They'll just keep pumping it with money, which is something they usually do and did announce they would do yesterday. So the printers are back on. So that's one way to solve the problem. The other way to solve the problem is to make a change. And I do feel that option 2 is starting to become more relevant. But I don't know what do you think about this? Like, do you think we're just going to go around in a circle again? Or do you think we might see some actual changes occur here?
All right. So there's what I wish would happen, and there's what probably will happen, which are different things, I would say. I'll start off with what I wish would happen. So I again, coming back to how I came into DeFi, I have a business background where I built a startup, which went pretty successful, and so that was also for me one way to start and want to understand how money works, how financial institution work, how interest work, how banking, loans, things like this work, basically, right? It was for me the entrance for it. So I was really curious about it, learned yeah, a couple of things about it, and I could see some flaws, right? I could see some flaws, especially in inflation, deflation, things like this. And
Yeah.
while the Corona crisis started, we could see the whole madness following, right, with the bull market following and things like this. And I could see, like, I think a bunch of people in crypto that inflation can only go up to a certain point, right? I could feel the build up. Yeah, you were doing the right move, right? It's
Yeah.
the build up, right? I was like, wait, what? Well, I think the figure was, I'm not, don't quote me on this, but I think the figure was like 45% of the dollar in circulation was created in 2 years. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. It's crazy.
Feels like not right, right? This figure didn't make any sense to me, right? So I was like, okay, but what does it mean? So I started doing research and I understood that it's probably bad for the economy, right? It's probably really bad. And when I say the economy, I'm telling retail users, because of, I mean, the ones that are getting bailed out of banks are the higher big
Yeah,
accounts, right?
they're the big boys, the ones who actually
Exactly,
put real
exactly,
money and still
exactly.
feel
So I think that there is a good impact. So apart from, of course, the really bad stuff that's probably happening right now and will continue to happen if the printer do not stop, is the fact that at least people getting more and more educated on how money works and how and why they should be, they should have, sorry, ownership of their funds, right?
yeah.
Because when you put money in the bank right now, you hope the balance stays the same because on your app or whatever the number doesn't change.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, maybe tomorrow you can purchase less things with the same money, right? So that's how
That,
inflation works, right? And
That's the
that's
thing
what I
that people
mean.
don't understand, though, Luca. Like the purchasing power, savings. Putting money in the bank today makes it less valuable in 10 years. I don't think people think about that too much. Maybe they do. Maybe
Exactly.
I'm,
They don't, but they will eventually when they see they cannot afford groceries anymore or
yeah,
rent or whatever, right?
yeah,
That's what really shit hits the fan, and
yeah.
that's probably. I mean, it's like when you need to change a habit, you need something hard that hits you, right? You need something that makes you realize, and that's probably what's going to happen or what's already happening for a lot of people, right? And that's probably what's following and what will be the breakthrough towards ownership. So fund ownership. Uh, that's what I hope for, basically.
That's like, yeah, that's quite likely to happen, and a very nice way of looking at it. So you think that like that punch to the guts moment needs to be a really big one to initiate changes. But
Yeah.
then, like, what about 2008, where like loads of people lost their pensions, everybody's got no money? That was a pretty big punch to the guts. I'm just
It,
being controversial now, but like
no, it was
that was a
for
big
sure,
punch, but it
for
didn't
sure.
punch hard enough. Maybe we
So
weren't ready then. We weren't ready.
exactly, and we didn't have any alternative.
Good point. There was a smithereen of alternatives coming out, and that was kind of when this whole thing started. But okay, so you see like this catastrophic falling over point where people's bank accounts all get emptied out, maybe, or like a mainstream bank goes bust, and people start to feel it. Really, it hits them where it hurts, right? And then
Yeah,
they wake
yeah.
up.
It would be cruel to say I want it. It's not true. I don't want it.
Sorry, yeah, not want it, but kind of
No,
do a
no,
little bit, though, right?
no, I don't want it. But if it happens, which I think it's likely,
Yeah.
I would hope that people start rethinking how they manage their funds, basically.
You'd hope so, right? You would hope so if the education was correct. I think we can only hope, and we can only think that enough people are becoming the spray of information now is much greater than it ever was in the world, I believe, where people can and do choose to educate themselves and understand what's going on. Like you said, understanding money for me is like should be taught in school.
Yeah,
before, just after the alphabet and the numbers. Like tell people why why mummy and daddy's money flow is important to the child, right? Like it should be
definitely.
discussed because kids have no idea of value at all, and they grow up like that, and then they don't understand it, and then they open bank accounts and they don't understand why that works. Crazy, man. Crazy.
Well, I would go even one step further. I would say that, so right now I don't have kids. Probably not. No, I don't. I mean, I won't until a couple of
Carefully.
years. But they'll probably be born with a ledger or something like this, right? Because yeah, I think that they'll probably.
I
I'm
hope.
going to take care that they are financially educated for sure.
Yeah, that's amazing, right? So the next generation of people, and I feel exactly the same way as you. My son's savings are in coins; they're not in fiat, and they never have been. And I'm basically thinking of him in the future, where he's like, "Daddy, where's my crypto wallet?" And I'm like, "Daddy had you sorted since age 2. You're good, man. Like, okay, it might be a bear market right now, son, but it'll come back. It'll be that conversation." So
Yeah.
I'm exactly like you, and I think that if that's happening, then that's grassroots evolution, and you know, it'll happen organically. And I think we've said it before, the point where blockchain and crypto becomes accepted is the point where everybody stops talking about it
Mm,
and just uses it, right?
yeah.
So that would be the real moment, but we're not there yet. We're not.
Well, we're progressing towards it, right? We were speaking about the fact that DeFi, yeah, applications are starting to incorporate user-friendly UI UX, and I would like to quickly touch point on this specifically because at Voltage we are building this. Basically, we are.
Yeah,
It's been,
man.
it's been months for now that we are focusing on the Vote app, which is about to launch in April. And we're really stoked about it because we have now over 20,000 member on the wait list, about to
Nice.
go up because we have another round of marketing stuff planned. But in a way, I wanted to say that I'm confident that the next generation, you were talking about young generations, right? I'm confident the next generation is going to have all the tools needed to be able to onboard in a seamless way, right?
You'd hope so. You want a situation whereby it's all integrated as well. So like Elon talks about Twitter being a payment gateway, whatever that comes to. It would be cool to have it like WeChat, basically, isn't it? Like what the Chinese have got. That's kind of going in the direction of where I think we're going to go to. Super interesting, man. All right, so we're getting there, Luca. We're getting there. Let's talk about voltage a little bit more. I want you to shill it. We didn't shill it hard enough there. Firstly, though, before we shill, I want to talk about the fact as to why you've made these changes to Voltage. There's a lot of changes happening to Voltage, and Voltage is the leading DeFi DApp on Fuse network. So it's the place for token swaps, liquidity, all those other words that we don't understand. Luca, tell us a little bit about the process here as to what Voltage was. Obviously, we know why you want to make the changes. We've just discussed all of that. But just give us a bit of a clue as to like the direction that you guys are going and why you think people should be interested in that.
Yeah. So Voltage is a DEX. So like yeah, as you said, the complicated stuff, right? So like you have everything for experienced crypto users or DeFi users is there. It looks like any other DEX, to be honest, that has nothing really more complicated to it. But let's say it's not really user friendly for new users, right? And our idea here was like, okay, how do we onboard in the next wave of users like we were talking about that maybe understand that they need to have ownership of their funds, or maybe want to take advantage of DeFi opportunities with high yields or whatever. We're like, okay, how do we make it easy for those people to
Yeah.
onboard? And having ownership of the funds, like not being a centralized entity, staying decentralized, staying non-custodial, meaning your key is your crypto for sure, but also giving you some kind of account abstraction, basically, right? It's really trending at the moment, but the idea here is that we want to make it seamless for you to create an account, a wallet. It's the same, and then from then participate to DeFi things without leaving the app. Because for now, you want to scan with your app to get your wallet on the DEX and then move on the DEX, which was kind of like let's say, yeah, temporary solution. What we want to do here with the Vote app, the upcoming Vote app, is that it's going to be every feature that's on the DEX also available on the app in a few clicks. And without all the complicated jargon, right? So you have the Zap feature where you can provide liquidity, again, complicated word. Here you only say, okay, this is a yield I can get from clicking 2 buttons. All right, then I can do it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the whole idea. Swapping also really easy. Yeah.
The decision making is less. right? You're not so caught up in trying to understand what's going on in front of you. You're just focusing on your decision making. Like you said, look, you stake this, you get this. Cool. Now I can decide,
Exactly.
right? It's not
Exactly.
about, oh, maybe. Because with crypto, sometimes you can even get halfway through some form of transaction and then realize that you've done something wrong. Like
Yeah.
you might be bridging something or doing something. And then you're like, oh, shit, like I've literally made a mistake and then you just give up, like, and it's just a
Yeah.
failure, basically, isn't it? But yeah, sorry. Anyway, just so talk about liquidity providing is the foundational purpose of all dexes, and the reason for that is that like a bank has money given to it by the what they called the central. I can't remember the name.
Central bank. Central bank.
Central bank. So they basically loan money to banks at interest. So people don't even know that like banks lend their money and they own debt on that. So that's crazy. So basically like that kind of formula of lending the money first and then taking, people don't understand that stuff. But the thing with voltages and providing liquidity is you need liquidity to facilitate the application. If somebody wants to swap Volt for Fuse, there has to be X amount of Fuse and X amount of Volt within the platform so that you can tap into that. So that's just like a basic explainer. So DEXs thrive on liquidity. They need liquidity. So Luka, tell us about the not liquid staking, the ZAP feature for providing liquidity. Because in the past, it's literally like you need a degree in maths to perhaps not that complicated, but it's not easy, man. Like it's pretty hard to, and given that it's the most important thing for a DEX, tell us how you're going to make that much easier. Like,
Yeah, definitely. So I would even say it's also one of the most important thing for users to earn yield, right? You have staking for sure, but you can have higher yields with providing liquidity, right? So the idea here with providing liquidity, as you underlined it perfectly, is that we need liquidity for users to conduct swaps, and the idea here is that you are able to provide liquidity with only one asset. Normally, you should have two, right? You should have, for example, Volt and Fuse, and provide those two so that people can make swaps within the two, right? But here, what we are unable to do with the Zap feature is that you can only provide one token you have. Maybe it's USDC, maybe it's stablecoin, maybe it's Ether, whatever, right? You just put it in the smart contract and it will automatically do all the sub transactions that you would normally have to do. It does it for you, right? And for a fraction of the price. So the idea here is that it doesn't cost you more and it's really easier for you. So without having to go through calculations to make it 50-50, do 2 or 3 transactions to make sure you are doing the proper thing. No, here is only, okay, I have this asset, I want to provide liquidity to this pool because it has a nice APR. All right, provide the one asset, the quantity that I want, automatically we'll do the rest.
That sounds pretty swish, man. Like that's exactly what even people like me want to see, because now we've come this far in our journey. We're bored of those more long features. That would be amazing to be able to do that. And I'm guessing that you're still providing liquidity in 2 ways. Like if I provide Fuse liquidity in terms of the pools, it goes, sorry, stupid question. You just simplified it for people. Nice. Okay. When's this feature dropping, Luka? It's dropping with the app, right?
Yeah, it will probably drop with the app. The app is scheduled for April and beginning of April. So we can't wait for it. It's going to be other features as well. You actually said one, but it's going to say a secret.
Yeah, I know. I get it.
But I will let people rewind. I will not go too much about it. But yeah, it's going to be other features. Also, we are looking for NFT integrations as well for people to seamlessly see the NFTs in the app. You'll be also able to track your portfolio value, also the coins graphs. I mean, there's a lot of things coming.
Cool, man. So it looks like it's a hot one and something to get into. And again, like you said, trial and error. If you've not used Voltage, have a go, see what you think, try it out. It's an interesting idea, and we'll see what kind of growth and traction we get. But it's looking interesting at the beginning. All right.
Before we leave this subject, I would like to just say that these are the last days where the waitlist is open, and for people that haven't got onto the whitelist, there's let's say a high. I would recommend going on the whitelist. I can't say too much, but I would recommend because there's going to be. So if you're one of the top referrals, you'll get $200. That's one first. But also you earn a soul bond token, which is basically a non-transferable NFT going to be given to your wallet address, and this is going to make you eligible for rewards. Cannot say too much about it, but I would do it if I were you.
Okay, well, that's compelling enough reason, I think. So you heard it here first. Listen to Luka, do what he says, and you could be eligible for some rewards. So super exciting, loads of stuff happening, man. So I think we've bagged on DeFi quite a lot today. I think we should wrap it up for this session. Hopefully, as I said at the beginning, we're bagging on it so we can talk about the benefits of it, and we're bagging on it because we know it's getting better. And ultimately, I think if people listen to these chats and they come to understand a bit more about DeFi, and they come to understand that it's not so scary and not so intimidating, then our job is being done to some level, I think. Like, just, yeah. And as I said at the beginning, if there's any questions about any of the stuff we spoke about, fire them at us. Happy to help. Like, these things are natural for us. So,
yeah, definitely. To wrap it up, I'll just say that, as you said, DeFi still has a long way to go, but as we can see in the global economic climate, I would say that we are heading in the right direction. I'm happy to see that new projects are being funded and also are recruiting a lot of people. And I can also see with this whole making it accessible to a lot of users that it's well. I mean, Ian, we are pretty well positioned to be at the forefront of something big.
something massive, and something that we've been talking about. You separately talking. I've been talking about this for like 7 or 8 years now. And this was the most interesting thing for me. Crypto speculation and price action and whatever, that's interesting. That's fun, to be honest with you. That's just fun.
Yeah.
That's not the reason I'm here. Like, it's really not. There's more to this. Like, at the beginning of the journey, we were learning about, people used to wax lyrical about real world application, about putting medical records on the blockchain. These all ideas were amazing, but they just all got lost along the way. But now feels like we're coming back to that. And it's like some serious work happening. And yeah, we are well positioned to be on the cusp of a technological, we could see a change in the way the world moves and operates, man. And like, literally, we're in the middle of it all. So hence why we do a podcast to talk about these things, because we appreciate, and I'm sure you've also got a lot of friends who love this stuff, but they work in they have a different job, or they chase a different career. And it's impossible to stay up to date with all this stuff, like Uniswap's app, all these different aspects of things that are all floating around in our brain 24/7. It's so hard for anybody to try and keep on top of that. Like, it would be ridiculous. So keep tuning in, guys. We hope you find it interesting and that you get little snippets. And as I said, if you want to expand on those snippets, just give us a shout. That's what we're here for.
Definitely. Looking forward for the next one. We'll probably also invite Fuse ecosystem partners for the next episode, so you can have other insights on those two beardy guys.
We have a non-bearded guest, do you think, Luka? Or should
I will see. We'll see.
I think there should be a proviso that all guests have beards, but then we're counting out the female population, so we might have a problem there. But yeah, we'll have a guest next time. I think we'll try and drag somebody in to talk about. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys, and tune in next time.
See you next time. Bye bye.